Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be doing a prediction between the current governor of Kentucky, the Democrat Andy Beshear, versus the current vice president, J.D. Vance, on the Republican side. And we'll be going through these two candidates. Andy Beshear has been floated as a possible nominee for the Democrats in 2028. At the moment, it doesn't look like he is the most likely, but nonetheless, still fun to do a prediction. And then on the Republican side, right now, Vance is largely regarded as the most likely to be the Republicans' 2028 nominee. So we'll have to see what ends up actually happening. But for now, we'll be going with this hypothetical situation. So I'm going to start out in the state of Nevada and then move eastward. So I do think in Nevada, I think that Andy Beshear would have quite a bit of appeal. You have to be a moderate Democrat to win as a governor in Kentucky. As you can see, it is a safe red state. And I think even if Beshear was at the top of the ticket for the presidency, that I don't think Kentucky would narrow up into the likely column. So I think that Andy Beshear would be possibly one of the most electable Democrats could put forward of the contenders that have been floated. I think he would outperform AOC for sure. And most likely outperform Gavin Newsom. I think he would be a great choice, but we'll be going through this prediction. And I do think that moderate appeal would help in the state. I'm going to do tilt for all the swing states, but they could end up lean. So I'm going to put the state of Nevada into the Democratic Party's column, Andy Beshear's column. So that is going to be 6 electoral college votes for him, bringing us to 231 to 219. And then we get to the state of Arizona. I think that just the general Democratic atmosphere, the atmosphere for the Democratic Party, things are looking pretty good. We've seen Democrats perform quite well in a variety of elections throughout the country. We've seen special elections. And I do think that Andy Beshear would kind of have the kind of moderate Biden appeal that Biden was able to capitalize on and made it so he could win the state of Arizona. And right now isn't quite as good of an environment, so I'm still going to put it in the Republican column. But I do think that Andy Beshear would be a close race for sure in Arizona. And then we get to, I'll go to the southeast now. I think in Georgia that would be in the Democratic Party's column. This state has had a few elections that have done pretty well for Democrats. So I do think the Sun Belt at large, that being the states of Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia, will become more and more Democratic friendly, while the Rust Belts, being the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, will become more and more Republican friendly. I think that is kind of the long-term outreach. Right now, both of those groups can go one way or another. And I think that J.D. Vance, of course, has some Rust Belt appeal. He, of course, was a former senator from Ohio before he was picked by Trump to be the running mate and then vice president. So he's got some appeal there. But, of course, Andy Beshear is from just one state south of that, Kentucky. So I think that they've both got some good moderate appeal. I'm actually going to go to the district here in Nebraska. That is going to be in the Democratic Party's column. I could very easily even see this being in the lean category, but I did say I'd do tilt for all the swing states. So we'll go with that. And back to the Rust Belt. So I do think that Andy Beshear, like I mentioned, would be a pretty electable option. And I think his best chance would be in the state of Wisconsin. This was the closest state in 2024, so it's the most likely to end up in the Democratic Party's column. It did go to Trump, of course, in 2024. It also went to Biden in 2020, and then Trump in 2016. So these 3 Rust Belt states, generally they vote together. And I think that at the moment, if the election were to be held today between these 2 candidates, that it would probably mean they would all vote together on the Democratic Party's column. And then, so with that, that's a victory pretty handedly for Andy Beshear. We do have one more state left to characterize, though, and I think this will be some minor good news for J.D. Vance. I would call North Carolina as being in the Republican column, So that brings us to 292 for the Democrat, Andy Beshear, to 246 for the Republican, J.D. Vance. Feel free to agree or disagree with me in the comments, and don't forget to like and